All right. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to try a podcast thing here because my brother said I should try it.
And all of your subscribers said that they would like it too. So,
Yeah, you guys voted for this. How you doing, Zach?
just living the life. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Also, living life.
Good way to be. I should have my American flag right behind me.
Yeah, yeah. See how American I am?
Mine is up there. Mine is, honestly, I think mine might be a little cooler than yours. It's just not in the background.
It may be cooler, but no one can see how cool it is. Therefore, mine's cooler. That's like saying you have big muscles, but not showing a picture. You can't prove
Well,
it.
no. Now here I've got my, yeah, see, it's made of wood.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I guess you know, but everybody else might not.
Possibly not well known secret. Flags are usually made of fabric, as is mine. So mine is closer to authentic.
Mine's more bulletproof. I mean,
Okay, fair.
yeah.
Might stop at
Um,
22. I don't know.
I don't know about that. I remember the last time. Remember when we went out shooting and that iMac that I had stopped at 9 mil? Like a lot of 9 mils?
It was an old iMac. They put a lot more metal in computers back in the day.
That's true. I think it has something to do with like the glass acting like a ceramic and breaking
Hmm.
I'm
It's all
not.
about layering, man. Whatever material you're gonna have, just layer.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, yeah. So I was hanging out with Zach last night, and he he asked, "Well done."
I'm
he
trying to reposition for y'all so you're not looking at the top of my head. There we go.
Anyway, he had the idea of us doing a podcast. So here we are.
Yeah. I'm just watching like the live view of my whole life falling apart up there.
Oh, the 30-second old live view.
Yeah, exactly. Hi, Daniel. Hi, Hardy Squad.
Hardy Squad.
Squid.
There you go.
My bad. My bad.
Let me put chat up on my side of things.
That's a good podcast name, Hardy Squad.
Yeah. There you go, Hardy Squid. Go start a podcast. So yeah, um, we had some ideas. Thought we'd just sort of talk about things. I don't know how. I've watched plenty of podcasts. I figure
Same
either you
here.
got it or you don't, and we're gonna find out tonight if we got it.
Well, don't doubt me. I certainly have it. Whatever it is, it's within my capacity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I'll start off. I'm a little bit of a car guy,
Mm.
and I have this hunch, and I'd like your perspective on this. Um, I have a hunch that if they brought back really cheap 50 horsepower, 50 mile per gallon gas savers with a very small carburetor and catalytic converter, they'd be really popular. You'd sell them for like 4 or 5 grand brand new, and I don't know.
I don't know if you could get that cheap, but I was thinking of a similar thought earlier today. I don't know how familiar you are with how the EPA ranks pickup trucks on like how clean they are.
I think it's on the wheelbase, right?
Yeah, the wheelbase is a factor, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. That's why little Toyota pickups like you saw in the 90s, they just aren't a thing anymore because they score lower on whatever little test the EPA has, whatever formula they have. So I was thinking though, if they simplified things, I don't know, so that the bigger pickup trucks weren't as incentivized. Think about it. One of those 1990s Toyota pickup trucks, two-seater, 6-foot bed, but with modern engine. Get 40 miles per gallon in this thing and sell it for 20 grand. Like that's still really cheap for any new car.
Absolutely,
It
it
would it
is.
would sell like hotcakes.
I think it would sell like hotcakes.
Yeah.
Well, I think it would sell like yesterday's hotcakes. It would sell well.
Yeah.
There is a need for glamour in the automotive market too, so there's not a whole bunch of people. Our dad certainly he
But
He'd jump all over that.
I mean, people don't buy 20, 30-year-old Toyotas for glamour. They buy it because you can do a lot with a little.
I'm just imagining the reaction you would get by approaching a politician and using the word Toyota. Like,
Okay,
a what now?
okay, fine. Ford Ranger.
That's like a cheap Lexus, right?
Or Dodge. They didn't have as small pickups, but they still had something on the smaller end.
Dodge had the Dakota, but they had the
That's it.
Rampage too. The Rampage was a K car, so front wheel drive El Camino style.
Uh huh.
Easily the worst small pickup ever made, in my personal opinion.
Yeah. There's been a lot of attempts at pickups from a lot of angles.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Toyota was legendary with those little pickups.
Yeah, absolutely. I had one once that had a big misfire on it. You remember the
Yeah, I remember
Skittle?
you let me use that truck. You gave that truck to me, and you gave it to me with 3 out of 4 cylinders working. And I remember I only drove it for like a week.
Those two cylinders were super reliable, though.
Yeah, I was on my way home from work one day, going up a hill, and I lost a cylinder, and I've just got foot on the gas to the floor, giving it as much as I can just to try and maintain 40, 30, 20 going up this hill. It's going like 15 by the time I got to the top, and then the cylinder kicked back in.
So you did make it.
I did make it to the top of the hill, yes. But
There's a reason I
if
called it the. Where's my mute button? I called it the toll.
nice mute.
Yeah, I'm still working on it. I don't have a foghorn.
Yeah. But yeah,
Um,
I had a lot of ideas for that truck. I cleared a lot of rust from it, spray painted it. I
you
put
put more
Subaru seats
Subaru
and a
seats in it.
handbrake in it.
If everybody doesn't know this about Jordan here, Joe Man 543, he's currently sitting in the seat that came out of a 1999 Subaru Legacy I used to have. And yep, there you go. It's actually insanely comfortable, but
It is.
um,
Well, think about
he
it. Think
will
about it.
just
Office
chuck
chairs.
Subaru seats at everything.
Subaru seats are super versatile
His wife's
because
car has
Subarus are
Subaru seats
designed
in it.
for off-road and sporty and commuter. They're all around, but they do all of it good. And so there's a lot of cushioning. You get your basic functions, lean back and all that. And they're just super common. So you need a seat for something, go find a Subaru at a junkyard. It's great.
I almost bought Subaru WRX seats the other day for my Nissan Sentra, but then I didn't.
Hmm.
They had like blue inlay, kind of like your Miata seats, and that like my car has a lot of colors on it, but that tone of blue is not one of them.
Yeah. I remember when I put the seats in the truck, they were almost too tall because the truck had some bench seat, so it didn't have headrests or anything. The seat basically
Mm.
stopped at your shoulder blades, but like the Subaru seat, adding like another foot to it, it's not a big cab in the Toyota either.
Yeah, I remember sitting in that, even in my full-size Ford pickup. I remember I remember it's sitting outside. Like sometimes I can't scoot the seat far enough back for my own liking, and
Hmm.
it's a 77, but it's a gigantic. It's an F-250.
Yeah. Danny W asking how I attached the seat. So when I got it from Zach, because he had it first, it was wood and duct tape.
I built it at work. I built it at
Yeah,
work.
it was wood and duct tape. Now, I made an upgrade, okay, pristine. I used screws and wood with some like little metal straps. The Subaru seat is really simple. On the bottom of it, it's just got 2 bars going across, and so I just had to put those bars on top of wood, and then just some straps over that with screws to hold it together. And then I screwed that wood, or I put some holes in the wood to attach it to the office chair plate. Um, Simple as that.
I made well over $9 an hour in that chair for months. Let me
Hmm.
tell you.
Yeah.
I got that though because my work just had it's just a cheap little job that I had. I won't name drop, but like it was just a low paying job, and they didn't want to buy me like a quality chair, like,
Hmm.
and I was like, well, I'm gonna build it myself, and I did it on the clock too. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if it made you more efficient, then I guess
it
that's good.
didn't. Made me
Okay.
more comfortable though.
There you go.
um, but yeah, if anybody's got a subject or a prompt, I'd say throw it in the chat. Otherwise, we'll keep on
Hmm.
going. Jordan, you want
So,
me to explode your channel or no?
so back to the whole car efficiency thing.
Hmm.
I did have one more idea on that subject. Um, there's a lot that goes into measuring car efficiency and all that, and it gets really complicated when it comes to exhaust. I think manufacturers should have more freedom to figure out new technologies and new ways of accomplishing the same goal. And so I think it should be simplified that basically tailpipe will have these limits of what kinds of gases can come out, this many parts per million of nitrous oxide. And then you can have, or maybe for this size engine, whatever. Then that's the only metric that manufacturers have to work with. Then they figure something out. Because some engines could be designed really efficiently and not even need catalytic converters, or there's a lot more freedom that manufacturers could do in that regard, and you get the same result.
I would, I think I might blow your mind if I considered, if you consider like my Nissan Sentra, it like they measure in parts per million. So if you have a million particles of air, X amount of those particles are oxygen, carbon
Hmm.
dioxide, nitrates or hydrogen, et cetera, et cetera.
Hmm.
And all of those things are either good or bad. And they say how effective your emission system is. Um, what's funny about that is that my 2011 Lincoln Town Car, it's a California model, so it has, I think, 9 computer systems that manage the emissions on it, 4 catalytic converters, and an exhaust recirculation valve, 2 PCVs. It's a ton of stuff and technology that makes it overly complicated, but it's a 4.6 liter compared to a 1.6. So even if it has the same parts per million, it's transmitting 5 times the emissions
Hmm.
that my Nissan Sentra is. And by the way, my Nissan Sentra's emissions passed amazingly.
Instead of a parts per million, in general, would you go for some sort of efficiency based on horsepower thing? Because, like you said, what, 4.6 liter, just as many parts per million as a 1.8 liter. But what if the 1.8 liter put out more parts per million but matched
Like
the
it's
horsepower?
parts per million per liter.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Because, like you say, parts per million for a bigger engine, yeah, per unit of gas it's the same, but it's going to put out a lot more of that gas.
Yeah. I am overtly against any law or rule that would go against the motivational prosperity of manufacturers continuing to make large engines. Sorry, I'll say that in a better way. I think that we should not do anything to stop people from making gigantic engines because they need to exist for trucks and they're also really easy to make horsepower out of and
Yeah.
for the sake of hot rodding.
I didn't know large engines were in danger. I
I
mean,
mean, if you put a tax based on like liters versus horsepower and
hmm.
parts per million or something,
In Europe, I'm
it's
pretty sure.
algorithmic. Sorry.
Sorry, Europe they do have a tax based on engine size, but USA is free from that so far. But yeah, bigger engine's going to put through more gas and therefore pollute more if it's the same parts per million as a smaller engine.
Yeah. Um, I mean, I think it's silly to even have this discussion. Like this discussion is such a hot topic in America,
The discussion
but
exists because the topic exists.
the topic exists because we're spoiled over here living in America and then we offshore manufacturing. This phone was made in freaking China? Why is this $700 phone manufactured in China and then shipped over here?
Because it's cheaper.
It is cheaper labor and less emission requirements. You don't have to pay taxes on manufacturing or employees or anything over there.
Yeah, China has a lot less rights and regulations that help workers, whereas America, we got a lot to help us not be steamrolled by our employers compared to other countries. And so because of that, China can do all these things cheaper, and then they load, 1 million phones on a boat, send it over to the US, and all that was cheaper than making it here. Now, if
I was going
China,
to say they also don't have child labor laws to protect them either.
like I said, they have far fewer everything to protect the employees. But yeah. Now, if some changes were made, there's a lot that can be done to make that not work out so nicely for China. I mean, we can't go in and change how China does stuff, not easily anyway. But there's tariffs.
Wow.
There's employer stuff in the USA. I don't know. There's just a lot of stuff you can do to incentivize stuff being made here. A lot of trade deals.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think I want to reply to some of your people's
Yeah, go ahead.
messages. Nut Doge Halo, -33. And if I'm wrong, blame Google because that's how I found that out. Um, let's see. All right, Hardy Squad. I look forward to your podcast. DGC Pictures said hi to you, Joe. Well, nobody's saying hi to me.
Oh yeah, he always does that.
Let's see. Living in a city of fuel-efficient truck with a decent-sized bed would be amazing. I agree. I think also cab-over trucks are something that we should look into because they're cool, like the Isuzu NPR. the
Cab over
Suzuki
trucks?
Carry. Yeah, cab-over trucks where there's no like hood that protrudes out the front. It's just
Oh.
windshield grill.
Mhm.
Because then you could have an 8-foot bed and a cab-over truck in the same size as a single cab long bed with a hood.
Yeah, 8 foot bed, and then the cab takes up, I'll say 4 feet. You got a 12-foot vehicle. That's the same length as my Miata, which is a small vehicle.
Yeah,
But 8
yeah,
foot
it
bed, you
is.
can do a lot with that.
Yeah, and those like Suzuki Carries and everything, you can really go crazy with. It's so funny that a Suzuki Carry, tiny car, smaller than your Miata,
Hmm.
would be taxed or regulated more heavily than like the same year F-250. Is that what you're saying?
Could be. No.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Excuse me, I'm lacking calories, everybody. Sorry.
welcome to the Snack Cast. No, that's probably a real
Jack
name.
Snack Shack.
Welcome to Zach Snack Shack. Yeah.
Hardy Squad said delay on the stream.
Oh yeah, that happens.
Oh, yeah. Can Hardy Squidge send a picture and you can post it for me to cringe at?
Yeah, I can go fish it out of my Discord. Let's see here.
Daniel
Whoops.
W said, how do you attach a Subaru seat to an office chair wheelbase? Honestly, welding would have been the way. I know Jordan addressed this, but like, I spent so much time. I could have just 2 bars across, zap it up. Jordan has my welder right now, so maybe
yeah.
he could actually
I mean,
finalize.
you're entirely
destination
correct
back there.
that welding would be the right way to do it. However, it has supported my weight and his weight just fine without that for at least 10 years. I've had this seat a long
My
time.
weight is a dramatically larger qualification.
Right, so yeah, the thing posted in Discord, it appears to be some pulleys with a belt nearby.
Uh-oh. Yeah, let's see this.
I suppose you'll see it soon. I put it over top of your face.
Oh no. Let's see. Oh, I've got a full screen this. Hold on so I can see it better.
So
Oh,
I can see there's coolant hose up here. Looks fine. Can't tell what pulley any of these are, but I'm sure they're important.
Yeah, I mean, I see an idler pulley. This is
I
on a
think
much
we got
older vehicle
there's
with
probably a
the V
fan
belt.
pulley here, the one that's kind of in the middle, the black pulley. I bet that's for a fan because it's got
Yeah,
something
but that
coming
would
off
be
the front.
mounted on. Yeah, that would be mounted on the water pump, though.
Yeah.
Probably why they pulled over.
Yeah, if your water pump goes out, you'll know about it pretty soon. And I bet that's AC way down there where I can't really see. I'll bet that's air
Yeah, I
conditioning.
guess maybe. Yeah, it looks like
I,
AC. It's
I,
hard. That's lower
I feel
pixels.
like there's a clutch on that. Hard to see, but
I'm gonna send this bad girl. Oh, wow. Yeah, I put
ah,
it in 1080. I tried to save the connection by dropping to 240, but wow, I can see way better.
wait. So you thought you'd see better by dropping the resolution?
No, I upped the resolution. I'm at 1080 at 60 frames per second now.
There
So,
you go. Yeah, I got
yeah.
high quality streams. Hardy
Yeah.
Squid confirms that's the fan.
Yeah, that's a bad time. Those V belts, they really last a long time. A little life hack for those V belts: when you replace them, just keep all the good ones and just put them like in your trunk next to the spare tire or
Hmm.
something. And then like 10 years, when you end up on the side of the road again, you've got a belt that you can at least throw on there.
Yeah.
Whether or not you have the tools, I don't know, but
Yeah. All right, now we can see Zach again.
lucky you or unlucky, whatever. Um,
All
I'm
right.
putting you guys.
Hardy
All
Squid
right.
says, "Have you seen the electric car graveyards over there? They're made, driven out, and abandoned en masse due to workers having to meet their quotas, but nobody buying them." I'm assuming you're talking about China. And yeah, okay, let's jump to electric cars. I have my
Oh,
opinions. What are your opinions, Zach?
my opinion is that electric cars are amazing. Um, they're just awesome. They can be manufactured in ways that are not limited by combustion engine stuff like that. However, I hate them. Like it's just a cheat code. You literally like, oh, press button, go fast. Like that's so stupid. And also,
To be
like,
fair, with an automatic transmission, that's pretty much press button, go fast.
well,
Oh,
you can overheat. You can run out of oil, hydraulic pressure in the transmission. You can high center on a curb and do oil pan, bird in the radiator. Like there's a million way. Like
mm-hmm.
yeah,
A internal combustion engine produces excess heat, so in the winter you get heat without any loss. Whereas an electric car, you have to give up your energy to heat the interior.
I'll raise you. I'll raise you on that, and I think I'm actually gonna make a believer out of you. Even though, again, I hate electric cars. So, look right at the camera, just so you guys know, I hate electric cars. But I did hear of a person who overlanded, which is essentially like light off-roading, but mostly based about traveling and sleeping in your car. Like van lifing would be sort of overlanding
Hmm.
if you did it on a dirt road. But someone had a Prius that they lifted very cheaply. And no, you laugh, but I'm going to make a believer out of you.
Okay.
They turned on their air conditioning and they could sleep in like the hot Louisiana summers. They go mudding all day and then they
Hmm.
just park their car, turn on the air conditioning, and it would keep the temperature. It wouldn't even run the engine. If it needed to, it'd turn on all by itself.
Yeah.
You didn't have to do anything. You don't leave the car on or off. It just turns on and off and keeps the AC for you
Yeah.
or the heat.
Hmm. So one modern solution is most cars, pretty much all cars, come with air conditioning of some sort. Tesla uses a heat pump on their newer cars. I think the Model Y introduced it, maybe the X. They use a heat pump instead of just heating up wires with electricity, and that's more efficient. Instead of creating heat, they're just moving heat around, and so that's how they make their heat or cold using a heat pump. Turns out it's very efficient that way.
Well, that's nice, but you know,
Yeah.
um,
So
no. Personally, I think electric cars They are awesome, but it just seems too easy, you know?
Okay. Let's say you want to drive 400 miles off road. If you have
Two
a,
electric cars, problem solved.
what, tow one car with the other car
Well, if
until
you're
the first one
towing,
runs
you
out?
need probably three of them because you're going to kill that
We just
battery
get a
life.
centipede of cars until you have enough range across all of them to complete the
Yeah,
journey.
yeah.
It's like,
It's NASA technology. You
yeah.
have break off Teslas as the
Yeah.
train keeps going.
All right, stage one has run out of fuel. Separate stage two, stage three, stage four.
Initiate air conditioning on future stage. Yeah.
Then it turns into Apollo 13. Got to conserve energy. No AC for the final stage.
Well, if I get to hang out with Tom Hanks, like,
Okay,
I mean, I'm actually
if
down.
you're ever gonna travel and Tom Hanks is involved, just don't go. Never travel with Tom Hanks. It always goes bad.
Oh yeah,
Think
that's
about
true.
it. Most of his movies is him traveling and something goes bad.
You know what? You're right. You're
Yeah.
right. Okay. I've
Yeah.
learned my lesson. Well, I've learned Tom Hanks' lesson. Thank
Uh-huh.
you.
Never go traveling with Tom Hanks ever. Yeah. But range is a concern for a lot of people with electric vehicles, and that's valid. But let's remember, electric vehicles have entirely with that. Prius can have a little bit of credit on the hybrid side of things, but I think without Tesla, electric vehicles would not have as much praise or attention as they do. They'd still be seen as impractical pieces of garbage. But electric vehicles are still in their infancy. The internal combustion engine type vehicles, they were invented in the late 1800s, and it took a while for the Model T to come out, which you might consider the dawn of like the mass-produced, pretty decent vehicle,
Yeah.
or Model A, you might consider.
It's
Point
not
is,
just a horse and buggy or a horseless carriage.
Yeah.
Actual car.
point is that beginning of cars took a decade or two to even get going. Electric vehicles might take a decade or two as well.
I think one thing that like is going to change the world like dramatically as a whole is batteries. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, like you're talking this thing has more computing power than any computer had in what 2005 even. And it has this last 2 days like computing at like a normal operator speed for Windows XP.
So it lasts that long because we've made great strides both in battery power and efficiency.
That's true.
A lot of components have become a lot more efficient. I think in 2005, there were computers more powerful than that, but they took a lot of power to compute that sort of stuff.
Yeah, yeah, I mean that's fair, and it's kind of funny. The Fox Body Mustang, fun fact, its first computer had 1 kilobyte of RAM. Did you know that?
And what did it need to accomplish?
Beating a Camaro.
Are we talking just spark plug ignition? Are we talking turning on a fuel pump? Like what did it really need to accomplish?
I don't know. I said
Okay.
it's a fun fact.
So it had a computer. It existed.
It did exist. You're
Okay.
right.
Well,
It did have that was a turbo car though, so it had fuel injection.
okay, so turbo, it's got to have a
wideband.
fuel map, right?
Yeah.
Injection timing. Okay, that's fair.
Boost map.
That is something you'd need a computer for. Yeah.
Yeah.
Modern car computers, they're probably about as powerful as your phone because they've got to do all this timing. They've got all these sensors. They've got all this efficiency they're trying to accomplish. And if you
Collision
have
avoidance.
infotainment, yeah, you have accident avoidance. You have everything that you can think of.
There's more computers in a modern Volvo than there was in the computer lab I grew up with at school.
I'd say there's more computers in I don't know, just a general modern car than probably on the International Space Station. Do you know how old that station is? It's old.
That's an interesting concept. Here, you know what? Here, we'll jump into science. Everybody, Jordan really likes this kind of stuff. Astrophysics, whatever. Is what
Astrophysics.
he
Yep.
is. Yes. A novice one. He's working on his PhD. He's got like 20 years left or something. If he starts tomorrow. No, I was gonna say, if you consider the space station, it orbits roughly at the speed of the planet, or no?
No, it's not geosynchronous or geostationary.
Okay.
One of those two. No, it's orbiting. Let's say 17,000 miles per hour. No, kilometers per hour. That's it.
How long does it take to get all the way around the Earth?
N- Either 90 minutes or 45 minutes. I forget. One of
Oh,
those
holy
two.
cow, that sucker is booking it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's got to go around fast enough that you know how orbits work, where you're falling, but you're moving so fast you miss the target, but then the target pulls you in, but then you miss it again, and it's just a cycle of keep missing the Earth because you're moving sideways.
I appreciate that you would assume that I know that. Yes.
Yeah,
Um,
and that's why I explained it anyway.
yeah. Yeah. Explain it like if a 50-year-old could understand. No, I'm kidding.
Depends.
Um,
Did they work at NASA or not?
it's Tom Hanks.
He didn't have a good time last time he went to space, so
Yeah, but he spent a lot of time out there.
yeah. I think it was like 5 days, moon and back.
Well, yeah, but if he stayed in the same place and the Earth was turning, wait a minute. How does that even work? He went up, spent 5 days up there, and then just happened to land in the exact right place. No
Are
way.
are you perplexed at how they can plan where they'll land?
I'm perplexed at how celebrity and influencers slash liberal news media outlet Tom Hanks can apply like just spray oxygen to just scoot a little bit and then somehow bomb down exactly to the city. Well, a couple miles offshore of the city he launched from.
What are you talking about?
Okay, I'll be honest, I haven't seen Apollo 13 in 25 years.
Okay, well, it's
So,
based on real events and actually pretty accurate and a good movie, and I recommend it.
well, I'm not an astrophysicist.
Okay.
So,
At least you admit you know nothing about what you're talking about.
no, I know little about what I'm talking about.
Yeah, he just
I
comes in
will
and lands on
mispronounce
the
the
Empire
word
State Building. Like, come
once.
on. Oh man. Yeah, back then they could choose which ocean to land in. That was about how precise it was.
Well, I'm glad. Well, okay, so maybe FedEx didn't get him to that island in Castaway. Maybe that's that's just chapter two.
That's chapter 2.
Apollo 13 also.
Apollo 13 lands in the ocean, then they wind up on the island. And then they get picked up. They fly to an airport where Tom Hanks gets stuck in that airport for a few months.
No,
That's another
he
movie.
he was descenting
Uh-huh.
over the ocean. He was descenting, right? And because of a cabin pressure, he passed out and he hallucinated that he was a FedEx delivery driver while he was coming through the sky. A midair collision with a FedEx plane. And that's how all the packages ended up in the
Apollo
ocean.
13 just hits a plane.
But because of a hypercosmic event, because of the transition of
Hypercosmic?
ozonal layers, yeah, hypercosmic.
It's
I'm
like
not an
super cosmic,
astrophysicist.
but even more.
Yeah, your lack of a PhD is showing. But no, in a hypercosmic event, the Apollo 13 capsule goes through, and because of the way it hits, he steals the identity of someone who died in that plane crash. And get this, he goes back to the city they lived in, and he thinks that's his wife. That blonde lady who was also from Twister. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He's like, "You're my wife." And she's like, "No. Anyways, take my Jeep."
Wait, but then how does he get on the island?
He lands in the ocean and then he floats to shore with all the FedEx packages.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then he goes crazy on the island. And you remember Wilson.
Questionable relationship with a volleyball, yes.
Uh-huh. Yeah. He starts hallucinating that he is a toy, a cowboy, and then we have Toy Story.
He's a Pokemon named Wilson. Wilson!
No,
All
Tom,
right.
Tom Hanks voiced Woody in Toy Story, so just tying it all together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got a friend in
Yeah.
me. Just the sound of a dodgeball hitting your face.
Just the whole song, but slowly zooming in on Wilson as it plays. Turning red, like...
Oh, man. You ever heard of... There's an island in Italy that's cursed.
Okay.
Well, I don't remember what it is, so I'm going to move on from that.
Okay.
Why did the football team go to the bank? I don't know why.
To sack the quarterback.
To get their court. Oh, well.
I'm sure it has something to do with quarterback. To get the quarterback.
Okay. Okay, yeah. Trump got into office. Military computers were running off floppy disks. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Most old people will defend their computers, say, no, that's a good computer. I bought it 20 years ago. I paid good money for that.
Computers age like milk.
They age like what? No, I can't say that. Wait, what is your demographic? How many of your subscribers are females?
Probably none of them. But I have had at least one female at some point watch the stream.
Oh, okay. Was it your wife?
No. She doesn't watch.
That's fair. That's fair.
I do know I have some Germans and some Australians and some Americans.
Well, then I won't be a misogynist.
Anyway.
All right. But who's the best actor by your recollection, Jordan?
Alive or dead? Because there's some good dead actors, but you know, they're dead now.
Well, you got to pick someone that people are gonna know.
Aaron Paul.
I said someone. You can't just make up a name.
So
who's that?
Aaron Paul. You've seen Fast and Furious. I know you're very familiar. He's the blonde guy.
That's Paul Walker.
Ah, dang it. No. Okay, I got him mixed up with Breaking Bad.
Oh, no. Oh, actually, Paul
Hey,
Walker,
remember that time that they cooked meth in Fast and Furious?
Yeah. I live my life a quarter mile at a time, and for that, 10 grams or less.
Yeah, I was getting Paul Walker and Aaron Paul mixed up. Aaron Paul's a pretty good actor too. Not that he's done a lot.
I would agree.
But he basically jumped into Breaking Bad with no acting experience or schooling or anything. Yeah, he just jumped in, and they were gonna kill him off in the end of the first season. But he was so good they kept him the whole show. And
everybody just likes the way he screams the B word.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. There's what's the term? Well, anyway, people remember things falsely sometimes, and people will misquote the show. They'll pick some quote from him in the show and just add that to the end of it. Like
yeah, that makes sense.
Mandela syndrome, is that it? The Mandela effect. Yeah.
Yeah, Mandela effect.
When you remember something wrong.
Let's see here. Why couldn't the sunflower ride its bike? Let's see.
Because something about seeds.
Oh yeah, the seed was too high.
Yeah, there you go.
Isn't it fun? Let's see.
Oh, it lost its petals.
Oh, okay. Don't you hate that when someone asks a joke and then they respond in a way that's funnier than your response, and you're like, "Oh,
I think your answer was better actually."
Mine or his?
Yours.
Oh,
the seed was too high.
I think the lost its petals was still pretty good, but
okay.
Yeah, I guess honestly, I probably would have got that. All right, so Hardy Squad, why don't you give us a prompt here? Challenge Jordan, make him uncomfortable. Ask him about abortion.
Well, we share the same view there, so
I know, but I'm way more radical than you are.
yeah.
Well, no, I'm more aggressive than you are.
You're more aggressive. I don't know. There are some issues I think I'm actually to the left of you on.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I've calmed down quite a bit, honestly,
Mm-hmm.
but that's okay. Um, I just want everybody to be happy.
Yeah, but people have different ideas of happy.
That's true. um, Less likely to start a flame war. Well, that's lame.
I wanted to buy some camo pants, but couldn't find any.
Ha ha.
I saw
Not
a video
you're
recently.
smart.
A guy was like doing a walk around of his truck, and then he's like, "I'm gonna spray paint this camo," and then it cuts to just four wheels and just
That's
no
funny.
truck.
That's funny.
Hmm.
Um. Well, do
Why
you
is
wanna-
why is camo appealing?
I think it's like that. You know how Donut Operator calls it like whacker? Like people like the cop stuff. They buy a cop car, they'll have like the CB radio and stuff, and they feel like they feel cool.
Have either of you guys ever played tabletop role playing games? What, like Chutes and Ladders?
No. So they're probably talking about there's a couple like different levels to that. So Dungeons and
Monopoly.
Dragons, Monopoly would not necessarily because you want to develop a character. There's a game called Munchkins. That one's pretty good, and it's generally a 2 or 3 hour game.
I'd say
House on the Hill.
I
is a little bit
probably have
longer.
not played any tabletop role playing games. Monopoly's the closest. My character is just a ruthless capitalist.
I don't know if your character's a ruthless capitalist. I'll be honest. I think yours is a filthy liberal. Your character comes into my museum and glues its stupid hand to my oil painting. Oh man.
Just roll the dice and just nothing happens. Don't move.
Yeah, it's blank.
Yeah. Favorite instruments. Zach, do you play any musical instruments at all?
I have played quite a few. Did you know?
It's been a while since elementary school. I mean,
Wow. Okay, well then I won't mention the recorder, but for our people who aren't watching from America, one funny thing about our education system is every kid in elementary school learns how to play a recorder.
yep.
And then the minute they finish playing it for their parents in some horrendously cringy display of love for their parents, they put it down and never touch it again.
You know, whatever company the school buys recorders from, or whatever company the
Yeah, we
students
should
get from,
invest in
they're making
in
bank,
recorder
dude.
stocks.
Every year,
We got to
there's
invest in recorder stocks in September,
Yeah.
sell them in March.
well, like every year, fourth grade comes through, right? You got at least 30 kids, depends on the school, got to buy recorders. But you get a whole district or even a state worth. You're selling thousands of recorders reliably every year.
Yeah, right. Where do those go?
Landfills, probably.
Yeah, we gotta stop using
Yeah.
plastic straws. But there's all these recorders. Just
They're just
getting
big
bought.
plastic straws.
Yeah, literally.
If you plug all the holes, I know there's a hole in the bottom. You have a straw. Recorders are straws.
Well, don't plug the hole in the bottom if you want to use it as a straw.
Well, yeah, you plug all the holes on the front, right? And then
Yeah.
leave the bottom open, top open. You've got a straw.
Yeah. Yeah, Dungeons and Dragons. I don't ever play that really. Heart Squad. But that's funny. I got a nickname for my boy over here. Squid Squad. Yeah.
You keep changing
of
the nickname.
I haven't. That's how nicknames work, Jody Dope. Yeah, Call of Cthulhu I've never played. Shadowrun I haven't heard of, but those like long-term tabletop games, they just don't hold my attention for long enough. So I always get bored and just quit. Same thing with World of Warcraft. I ran around as a panda for 3 hours and I didn't get to battle anybody, so I'm like, this is stupid.
You
I can
imagine
go play
fighting a
zombies.
panda and losing?
I mean, it's a bear.
No, they're not. They're a
Panda bear.
marsupial.
What?
They're more related to a possum than a bear.
Okay, well, do you think that you would fight a possum and win?
I would fight anything less than 10 pounds and win. Above 10 pounds, I start to question.
Anything less than 10 pounds.
So a small possum, yeah, I got that. A
I
big
will, I
possum will
will
probably
show you
win.
you're wrong. I'll show you you're wrong. I'll do 9 pounds. Are you ready?
Okay?
9 pounds of cancer.
Depending where it's at, I'll be fine. Give me a 9-pound lump of cancer on my arm. I cut that thing off myself.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Nut Dog, you got all the jokes. Yeah, I agree. I like the 1911 too. I'd love to get a gold one, but yeah, my Glock 17, funny enough, like right behind me. Yeah, 17 round mag, and you can get like 100 round drum mags. Like the 1911 ain't got nothing.
You imagine firing a 100-round semi-automatic? That'd be a chore.
Well, yeah, that's why they make federal offenses like a Glock squid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't had enough exposure to different pistols to really say. I can say that I like Glock. I can't really speak to 1911.
Yeah, 1911 shoots super nice. Glocks are really like clunky, but if you've never shot something as nice as like a quality 1911, you won't know what you're missing out on. So it's no big deal. Fun fact: our lovely president, who has forgotten his own name, I know his name, but he forgot it probably. He is that too political? One of my guns I had to disassemble, and it's just a box of parts right now because I can't assemble it, otherwise it's a felony. So that's fun.
Yeah. Don't you love it when organizations can make up rules without anyone voting? It's great.
Oh, M1 Garand, 100%. The Springfield's awesome, but the
based on my experience in Call of Duty, I'll say the M1 Garand. That's my only
I
experience
was
with
actually
that.
going to say the Springfield is actually super, super accurate, but the M1 Garand has the shove load where you like do the clip. And you,
Yeah, and then
I think the
you fire all
Springfield's
eight, fire all eight, and then it makes the classic ting sound.
ting.
Yeah.
Man. Well,
What's
yeah. I
what's
guess
our
we're
next
on
prompt? I feel like we've gone way off.
What's a prompt? Okay, Jordan.
Yeah.
Well, this probably isn't going to land super hard, but if you had to get rid of one of the 3 judicial courts, which would you get rid of?
Judicial courts?
Yeah.
I don't know enough to say.
The Senate, Supreme Court, and, well, actually, I don't know them. It's been a while.
The 3 executive branches of the United States government.
That's what I meant. Yeah. Again, not a physicist.
Not executive branches, just the 3 branches. So you're talking about the executive branch, the legislative branch, or the judicial branch, right?
Yeah.
Tonight we're finding out who has the PhD here.
I'll detect everybody.
Didn't you take a political science class?
Yeah.
And I didn't. Anyway, so yeah, executive, for those that don't know, is basically president and everything that goes along with that. Legislative is Senate and Congress, and judicial is the Supreme Court and judgy people. I mean, all are important. I mean, you get rid of one and then it's just a 1v1 battle. But if you have 3, then you can actually break ties and stuff. I wouldn't get rid of any, but if I had to get rid of one, I'd get rid of executive. Because legislative is still a group and judicial is still a group. Whereas executive kind of just falls to the president. And so group versus group, you can still break ties. But if it's one guy versus group, that's harder to break ties.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, getting rid of any of the courts would be rough.
Yeah. Now, I do think that courts need to not get too big. It has been proposed to get more and more judges. Um, but you start adding more, and then you have too much turnover, and then things change too quickly. Makes it too hard or too easy to influence stuff. Whereas if stuff
Yeah.
sits long enough, then a president isn't in long enough to influence it as much.
It's kind of funny if you consider like the conservative and the progressive party, the names are literally change and don't change.
So conservative and
Conserve
progressive
and don't.
are ideals, not the names of the parties.
Whatever. I mean,
Republicans tend to hold conservative ideals, and Democrats tend to hold liberal ideals or progressive ideals. But there's a lot of ideals that you can hold, and you don't have to be part of one party or the other. But when it comes down to it, most things tend to be one side versus the other. I mean, you look at even systems outside of this. I mean, look at, I don't know, people get stuck on an island and they have differing ideas. It always splits into two groups. Never three. Well, rarely three. It's always two groups. So even with politics, even if you don't fall into one side or the other, you are probably your ideals are probably more similar to one side or the other. So then you just sort of fall in with that side. It's an unfortunate reality of how group decisions in politics work.
Yeah, it's called banding. Anthropologically speaking, people in culture will divide themselves into bands, which again they will all grow and eventually break into further bands. Nowadays, we've got such a huge population in the world that bands don't even exist. We're all technically, culturally speaking, the United States is a state. It has its own culture, but each state would be its own state, and cities would probably qualify as a state. Some would be bands, but
I mean, if
Yeah.
things broke down to groups that small, there'd be a lot of groups that don't survive. Cities can only survive because of the rural groups. Like,
yeah.
cities have grocery stores have farmers, right? Farmers could feed themselves well enough. They might have to trade some potatoes for some meat or something, but versus city folk, if they can't go to the store and get food, then what are they going to do? I'm not saying they're not valuable. That's just the stance they happen to be in.
They'd probably go in their 6 foot by 8 foot backyard and build a raised garden and then get a bunch of seeds and then plant them and then water them and then realize, okay, well, I don't have enough food to make it to when this all grows.
Yeah, what am I going to do for the next 3 months before these potatoes are ready to eat?
Ooh, I saw this TikTok where you just cut the side out of a gallon of milk and then you hang it with the handle and you can grow like 10 peas. They just rain down on me.
I remember when I was young seeing some advertisement for some tomato grower, but it grew the tomatoes upside down. So the roots were up in a bucket, hole in the bottom, the plant was hanging down. And I tried that with a normal bucket and it kind of worked, but it also kind of didn't.
Yeah, I don't understand plants at all. I'm convinced that everything I've ever grown is out of pure dumb luck. I'm good at growing grass.
Yeah, I'm good at growing stuff until July. For some reason, July just kills everything, unless it's in the shade.
You're like, yeah, I prepare for harvest in June.
Yeah. I mean, you can harvest a number of things by that point. Did you know there's some strawberries? They're called June-bearing strawberries. They give their whole strawberries that they'll give for the whole year just in June. You water them for 12 months, you get 1 month of strawberries out of them, but you get a lot.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't know anything about that. I don't like strawberries, honestly.
That is
I've
unfortunate.
never seen them do well. Well, I love strawberries, the fruit, but I've
Oh.
never seen them like grow well,
Hmm.
except for in my one neighbor's yard. Like he grows them like grass. Like he just covers under his rose bushes with strawberries.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got some
Um,
strawberries. They're pretty good. I'm hoping next year to expand my strawberry operations enough that I can make some jam.
oh yeah.
You literally you put strawberries in a pot, mash them up, throw sugar in there, and bottle it. You got jam. Maybe add some pectin. Maybe.
Yeah, just a little bit of
Yeah.
No, I've got a bunch of canning stuff in the basement. Um, my wife and I have been talking about like making like soups and then canning or freezing them,
Hmm.
uh, and then just having those as like pre-prepared meals.
Hmm.
Yeah, we got to get a freezer for the basement though.
Yeah. How
But
you'd have a hard time getting a very large freezer down there. You could probably get a chest freezer.
yeah, we get a smaller chest freezer. We'll probably do multiple small chest freezers instead of one big one.
Yeah.
'Cause it's tight getting down there.
If you build shelves just right, you could stack your chest freezers.
That's true, but um,
Or get this, turn your chest freezer so that it's upright.
on its side, yeah,
Yeah. No, I think it wouldn't cool properly, but it's fun anyway.
the bottom would. Um,
Yeah.
let's see. I'm sorry, Heart Squad, that your plants all die. I wish you were better too. I'm, I'm just kidding. I'm with you. I literally like the only plant, like Jordan will tell you, I have a gorgeous front yard. My grass is amazing. My trees, they're all dying. I don't know why. Don't
The,
tell them about, only half of them got cut down.
what period of time are we including when you first bought the house? Because I'd say it's more than half.
By, yeah, by volume, way more than half. Yeah.
By
But I,
by quantity, I guess less than half.
oh yeah, dude, when I cut those down, oh my gosh, I filled up my whole yard like 6 feet tall. And I was like, dude, I have a short bed truck. I don't know how I'm supposed to take this to the dump now. They're using
Hmm.
me 10 trips.
Yeah, but
But
if you had a 40 mile per gallon truck, that'd be no issue.
that's true. That bed would have been smaller. But no, I just used a neighbor's trailer and we just stuffed it all as tall as we could. And
Hmm. All right. Well, we're coming up on an hour. Thought we'd do an hour for tonight, see how things go.
yeah,
Let's get a final topic to talk about.
a final topic.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, what's well, I can only think of like incendiary topics. I'm trying to think of something we would disagree on so we can actually,
How would you handle the southern border?
how would I handle the southern border?
You're president with executive orders, complete
I'm
control.
president with executive order.
What
Okay.
what do you do?
Um,
Oh, and it's
Firstly,
it's your first term, so you don't want people to hate you too much.
oh, I don't care. If I was president, genuinely, I would do all of the dirty work that would need to be done, and then I would retire to like Argentina or somewhere like that just disappear.
Pull a
Um,
James Polk right there.
yeah, exactly.
James Polk
No,
served one term, got everything done he wanted.
so 100%, what I would do is essentially probably a couple of government shutdowns, right? We would finish the wall because that's a few $1 billion, but realistically, the biggest problem in America that I can see is the massive debt that we carry and pay interest on. So if we could, I mean, our GDP is like $24 trillion and our owed debt is like 29. So in theory, if we shut down every other month, a lot of people would feel the hurt on that. However, I think that we could pay off, I don't know, let's call it 5 trillion of those dollars, and all of a sudden everything gets easier. Now, you didn't ask me about that. So
Not at
the
all.
southern border, well, no, but I've thought about this a lot.
Yeah.
So the southern border whole fence, the whole thing makes
Okay.
no sense, absolutely no sense for us to have uncontrolled, unpatrolled borders. Absolutely the dumbest thing in the world. Um, so yeah, full fence, and then we would stop immigration for 2 years, right? Because it costs a lot of money. However, after that, I would say that we should make a goal to immigrate 1.5 million immigrants, right? Standard immigration, refugee status is outside of that. Standard immigration, we would accept 1.5 million.
What if
per year.
5 million people apply as refugees a year?
Well, not everybody makes it as a refugee. There's a lot that goes into that.
Yeah.
I mean, they could mail your approval letter to a house you died in 5 years ago. Like, they really take a long time. I don't know enough about that to streamline anything, but yeah, certainly lower costs. Get rid of a bunch of EPA stuff because like we just don't need it. It chokes a bunch of crap and just costs money. So that would ease tensions on our economy. Block off the whole southern border and like the northern border too. But yeah.
So in summary, your plan is to cut back a lot on government stuff to get money, save money, shut down the border for 2 years, fully fenced off, and then reopen it with strict numbers and rules.
What does a man do?
Is that more or
What
less?
does a man do when some woman comes in and breaks his heart? He goes to the gym, he gets a bank account, he works on his gains, right? We
Okay.
got to shut the door and work on our gains. Strong America, rich America. I should put this over here so you can hear it. Strong America, rich America, happy America. We need to make America the place for employment, the land of opportunity. We need to bolster that, and then we can bring in more immigrants. Right now, we immigrate roughly 900 to 1.1 million per year. I would like to up that, but we need the infrastructure to. Sorry, obviously, I have a lot of feelings about this. What would you do, Jordan? You're president for a term.
Okay. I agree that we need a border for different reasons, though. America is struggling due to a lot of people coming in. But how can we help those people if we have no clue how many are coming in? We can't allocate resources. We can't decide how much money needs to go towards the problem if we have no idea how big the problem even is. I wouldn't shut the border down for 2 years, but I'd fully fence it and then still let people in, but they have to, complete all the forms and stuff. And they have to wait in Mexico or return to their country of origin until they're approved. But I think the approval process does take too long. Like some people take years to get into the country. I think it should be 2 months maximum.
Okay.
I do think that with the right resources thrown at it, 2 months is enough to at least, figure out what skills they have and whatever the process is. I'm not going to claim to know the whole thing, but I do think that it takes way too long currently. One interesting thing that I had the opportunity to do a few years ago, for a school project, I interviewed a guy from Africa, came over on an education visa, so he gets to go to college here. And I interviewed him on the subject of immigration. This was like 2019, I think. And he was all for, fence the border, have more catching, more, I don't know, be better about knowing who and what is coming into the country.
Yeah.
So I'm not opposed to people coming in the country. We just have no clue who or what is coming in the country, and that's the problem. So
I 100%
we just
agree.
need some control on that for starters. And I don't see why anyone would oppose that unless they have ill intentions. I'm not saying don't bring people in. We just need to know who and what is coming in. Imagine your house doesn't have a front door and you go to work 8 hours a day. You gonna feel comfortable with that? Now,
I think just to just to expand on what you were saying, I've always like fantasized. We do have like tons of just land in the middle of nowhere, middle of Texas, Nebraska, Wyoming, you
Hmm.
know? And like we really do have a great opportunity as a country with, firstly, a lot of resources and capital.
Hmm.
Secondly, a lot of land that we can use to protect our other land, right? You're talking somewhere in the middle of Nebraska, we couldn't build a city that we could bring refugees to, have them immediately go into a 40-hour work week, benefits, manufacturing products that need to be made here in America, like this phone, right? Some of them might already know how to do that. It's already on their resume. They
I
work for Samsung China, but I think that there should be like a refugee city or something like that. So like if you want to come to America, like I know how it sounds, but like if you want to come to America, come over here, put in your time, right? While we vet you. And then also you can make money. And that way, if we reject you, you're going home with something that you can say, you know what? Fine, I'm going back to Mexico, Guatemala, Russia, China, wherever. I have something to go back with though.
would these cities have their own containment? Because that starts to have some moral issues, I think.
Not containment, but they would be located kind of in the middle of nowhere, i.e., Nebraska, Texas, Wyoming. Think like Alcatraz. Like there's not really a fence, but you don't leave, you know?
Comparing it
I
to
don't know.
Alcatraz doesn't help your point from a moral standpoint. All right, welcome to the
Well,
country, but you're going to be in a prison. Like,
well, no, I'm
and
saying
you're
it,
going to
it is
make
a land
license
of
plates.
opportunity, but to be totally fair, and I'm just gonna sound like a raging 80-year-old Republican right now, but to be totally fair, like you should know how to speak English, you should know
Hmm.
how credit works, you should know how to do basic math for like to pay your taxes and to, manage money and things like that. Like, how are we gonna be like, hey, welcome to America, go stand at Home Depot because you don't know what a resume is? Like seriously, like we want to empower people, right, in the
Hmm.
land of opportunity. um
I do kind of like the idea of some sort of homesteading program relating to immigration. We do have a lot of emptiness in the middle of the USA. Granted, it is fairly dry,
that's a
but
Republican breeding ground though. You're just going to give people farms.
so what?
I'll just
We
vote for
get more
Trump.
rural red area, whatever. No, but some sort of homesteading plan, right? Um, I'm not saying just stick them out in the middle of Nebraska with a house and say figure it out. Um, but I'm sure people smarter than me could figure something out. It's dry, but it's not so dry you can't make it work. We live in Utah. I mean,
Yeah.
Utah was an unusable arid desert, and then the pioneers came and they made it work.
Yeah,
And
well, it
that,
wasn't that bad. We do have the valley, but
well, yeah, but I mean, look at I don't know Brigham City or Provo or I mean, even some of the drier areas.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think that there are a lot of things that absolutely could change. I think, however, we look at it the wrong way. I think we should look at people coming into the country as like an opportunity to make
Hmm.
our country better, because most people just want to make it better.
Yeah. Hardy Squid makes a good point. Start with farms and food, not cities. Yeah, if you just bring them in and stick them all of them in the cities, it's just a burden on the country. And I mean, I don't know. They probably don't want to just basically sit in a cell until they're free to go. You stick them on a farm, give them something to do. That'll be fulfilling for them, hopefully, as well as give back to the country as well.
Yeah. Well, and also if you consider like these people, like where they're coming from, they don't have the well, they may not have the technological advancements that America does. I mean, if you
Hmm.
someone coming from Mexico might, maybe they've seen a cell phone or something, but they don't know like what a hospital is or how like you can get brain scans and things like that. They don't understand that they could be an engineer, they could be this, that, or the other.
Hmm.
But the basis of all of that comes down to knowing how to speak English well, knowing how to
Hmm.
understand the culture and to mesh with culture
Hmm.
the right way. Um,
And
and just
I
bring
think
people
it's
here. Oh,
fine if people want to bring their culture. Um, I've been to Europe and I loved experiencing the culture while I was in Germany and the surrounding countries. But from a functional standpoint, if you can't understand each other, it's just a functional problem. So yeah,
Yeah.
if we have some standards on, you got to speak English at, this level, otherwise you just can't get by. And that's a disservice to them as well. If they can't, if they go to Walmart and they can't tell what's what, it's
Yeah.
a big
No,
disservice to them as well.
yeah, exactly. Gosh, every time you go to a store, I don't even talk to an employee. Like seriously, you go to Home Depot and you'd be like, "Hey man, just some kid, right? Some like little friggin' 17-year-old Josh." You're like, "Hey man, where's like insulation?" And they're like, let me check for you." I'm like, "I can check that." Like, so yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, any job's gonna have training, but
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I've been to local Home Depot so much I could tell you where the insulation is.
Well, I know now, but like
Yeah,
just for example.
it's aisle
What was I
48,
thinking? Well, okay, sure.
my Home Depot.
It's in the back corner. It's past the concrete. Um,
Yeah. Anyway,
well, yeah, I guess we should probably wrap up here.
yeah. So I've had Joe Cast showing up at the bottom here because we couldn't really figure out any other name. Doesn't have to be permanent, but thanks everyone for watching this episode of Joe Cast, joined by my brother Zach.
Yes, this is me right here in the chat, Team Rocket Garage. If you like car stuff, obviously you can go check out my channel. I've got one heck of a video coming out Saturday, and then a Christmas special on the Saturday right before Christmas, on Christmas Eve. So yeah, glad to see you all.
And I'm planning to do a 24-hour live stream, New Year's Eve going into the new year. So join me for that. I also have my regular Friday live stream, 7 p.m. Mountain Time. So tomorrow evening and the following Friday evenings, I'll be streaming. So join me for those. So,
Cool.
all right.
Well, Joe, I'm going to hop off. I got to go walk some dogs and stuff. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for joining. Bye-bye now.
See ya.